Welcome back to the Explainer. So if you've been following along with us, you know that in our previous 28 explainers, we've completely broken down the enrollment data of 29 different universities. We've looked at top-tier schools like National Kaohsiung University, Zhengqi University, Chengkung, and Yangming Chaoteng, all the way through to various mid-tier institutions. Well, today, we are zeroing in entirely on National Kaohsiung Normal University, or NKNU. We're going to look at how it's navigating a wildly shifting higher education landscape. We're breaking down every single department group at NKNU, comparing them directly with their peers from those 29 other schools. And honestly, we are not going to sugarcoat where NKNU is lagging behind. We have to identify exactly where they stand right now.
Here is our roadmap for today. Section 1, the popularity formula explained. Section 2, macro-environmental squeeze. Section 3, humanities and education breakdown. Section 4, STEM under pressure. Section 5, math, management, and applied fields. And finally, Section 6, the unfiltered truth. Let's get right into it and put NKNU under the microscope. Section 1, the popularity formula explained. Before we dissect the individual departments, we really need to establish exactly how we measure success here.
Okay, so how do we calculate this? The crucial point is that we use a geometric mean-like formula that combines two absolutely vital metrics. We multiply the fill rate, which is basically the percentage of eligible students who actually choose to put a department on their preference list, by the inverse of the screening order. Now, the screening order represents how hard it is to get in. A smaller number means it's much tougher to enter. By taking the square root of that product, we get a true balanced measure of real-world demand.
Moving to Section 2, macro-environmental squeeze. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the massive external forces currently squeezing middle-tier public universities.
NKNU is honestly facing a perfect storm of macro headwinds right now. Back in 2022, there was a lot of confusion over a new curriculum rollout, which caused high-scoring students to play it safe and aim lower. That gave NKNU a temporary boost. But then, in 2024, new government tuition subsidies for private schools suddenly wiped out the main cost advantage that public schools like NKNU relied on. And looming right around the corner in 2026, top-tier STEM giants like Yangming Chaoteng and Tsinghua are opening branches right there in Kaohsiung, effectively absorbing the top local talent.
On top of all that, the traditional draw of the Normal University, which historically was this highly prestigious pipeline for future teachers, is just fading. The teaching profession today faces some really harsh realities. You've got a massive gap between teacher salaries and tech industry pay, severe administrative burnout, intense parental pressure, and honestly, a general shrinking of the profession's prestige.
To really put this into perspective, just look at these numbers. After that brief spike during the 2022 curriculum confusion, where NKNU's average screening order was a highly competitive 13,449, its barrier to entry has completely dropped. By 2026, that number is projected to swell to 21,755. It has literally become much easier to get in, simply because students are looking around and returning to top-tier schools or taking those subsidized private alternatives.
Section 3, humanities and education breakdown. Let's start comparing apples to apples and look at the traditional core of the university.
What's really interesting here is that Chinese and geography remain incredibly strong holdouts. Chinese is sitting at rank 282, which actually beats out peers like National Tsinghua University of Education and Suzhou University. Meanwhile, geography is showing a really notable growth trend at rank 331. These two clearly possess a real brand moat in the southern region.
But we have to be direct about where NKNU is falling behind, because pretending a problem doesn't exist is the worst thing you can do. The English department has plummeted, ranking at 411. It's basically tying with NCUE but falling way behind National Kaohsiung Normal University. Why? Well, it's getting heavily squeezed by the rapid rise of AI translation tools, and frankly, students are opting for private universities in Taipei that offer much stronger, commercially focused language degrees.
And when we look at pure education, keep in mind this is a traditional teacher training giant we're talking about. Seeing the education department at rank 677 and special education at 726 is a massive red flag. They are lagging far behind peers like National Taipei University of Education and NTNU. This is a direct reflection of how hesitant students are to enter the teaching workforce under the current conditions we talked about earlier.
Moving to Section 4, STEM under pressure. Let's dive into the tech fields, where NKNU is fighting a genuinely grueling battle.
We really need to call it like it is here. NKNU's electrical and electronic engineering departments, which are ranking in the mid-500s, are actively losing ground. They are actually being beaten by private universities like Cheng Yuan and Fengchia. This is the direct result of those recent private tuition subsidies. If NKNU can't figure out a way to connect these majors directly to Taiwan's booming semiconductor industry, this slide is absolutely going to continue.
And the situation gets even more concerning in the software fields. We live in an era completely defined by software and cybersecurity, yet NKNU's software engineering and management sits way down at rank 753. Even worse, the cybersecurity group drops past the 1,000 mark to 1,093. When you compare that to a public peer like National Central University sitting pretty at 114, you see a massive disconnect in digital transformation. Students just do not see NKNU as a tech incubator.
Looking at the pure sciences, physics at 637 and biotechnology at 765 are also struggling. They can't keep up with normal university peers like NCUE or even private options like Fujian Catholic University. Chemistry, at 619, manages to hang on to a baseline level of public university appeal, but there is certainly no strong growth narrative happening there.
Section 5, Math, Management, and Applied Fields. Let's round out the rest of the departments. The most crucial takeaway in this section lies in mathematics. Applied math suffered a huge drop in popularity, landing at rank 576, and general math is at 682. As students began flocking back to top-tier schools, NKNU's math fields bled demand because they entirely failed to pivot their curriculum toward modern, highly lucrative areas like data science and artificial intelligence.
In resource-heavy, industry-linked fields, NKNU is also really struggling to stand out. Business management is at 759, which means it has a highly localized appeal, but is vastly trailing mid-tier public peers like Chongqing and Central. Same goes for industrial design groups A and B. Ranking near 800, they are lagging significantly behind highly industry-connected private schools like Tatung University.
But you know, there is a really fascinating silver lining for highly specialized vocational fields. Departments like Industrial Technology Education at 893 and Energy and Refrigeration at 924, yes, their overall ranks are very low, but they maintain this microscopic, yet incredibly stable, positive growth. They've captured a highly dedicated, loyal audience that simply isn't swayed by broader tech trends.
Section 6, The Unfiltered Truth. We've gone through the data across every department, and now it's time for an honest, unflinching diagnosis. Like we said, ignoring the problem doesn't help anyone. The data tells us NKNU is transforming way too slowly in the digital space. They are completely losing ground in critical areas like software and cybersecurity. They're losing their language edge to AI and commercial competitors. And most foundationally, the university is suffering from a nationwide decline in the prestige of the teaching profession, which was the absolute bedrock of their brand. The source data states it quite bluntly. Without a strategic pivot, simply relying on the title of a public university is no longer going to cut it. NKNU is caught in a vicious squeeze. On one side, you have subsidized private schools offering deep industry connections, and on the other, top-tier university expansions coming right into their backyard.
So, I'll leave you with this to ponder. In this hyper-competitive, tech-driven era we are entering, how long can legacy middle-tier universities survive without a radical reinvention? Thank you so much for exploring this data with me today, and I really hope this deep dive gives you a much clearer understanding of the complex dynamics at play in today's higher education landscape.